Before I start the movie, I would like to tell you that we miss you, my friend. Our movie today is a state of romance and drama. All you have to do is be patient in the beginning to enjoy the end, and now fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the movie.
The film opens with the arrival of Madame de Volanges and her cousin, the Marquis de Mertert, at the convent to visit Cecile. The charming young Cecile Duvalic sings in the choir and leads the correct lifestyle as a virgin and pure girl. She knows her mother is going to marry her and asks Mrs. Myrtle if this is true. Upon learning that everything is really fine, the girl asks her to find out the name of her future husband. Mertert tries to do this, but Madame de Volanges hides the name of her future son-in-law since he himself asked her about it. At the same time, the woman asks a socialite and a widow to take care of her daughter so that Cecile is not only innocent, but also a wise girl with the right manners. In the evenings, Mertert goes with little Cecile to the opera, where she teaches her how to hold a fan correctly and behave decently. Having met the Viscount de Valmont girl, the millionaire does not raise her hand, and the woman says that this is not worth doing, because she gives the man a chance to get to know her better. When communicating with him, you should be polite and courteous, but not give empty and false hopes. Little understanding of etiquette. Cecile invites Valmont to watch the opera with him, but Mertert tells the gentleman to leave it as soon as he leaves. The woman tells the Viscount that the Viscount is a terrible man who can ruin a girl's reputation and must be removed as far as possible. A little later, Valmont announces that he is leaving Paris to visit his elderly aunt, Madame de Rosemond. Cecile still does not understand what questions to ask and asks Mertert if the man is her lover. That evening, Mertert spent the night with Monsieur Jurcourt. When a man is about to leave his mistress, he asks when they will meet again. Jurcourt shrugs off the question, explaining that he is too busy and has no time for appointments in the coming days. A few days later, the nobles gather at Madame de Volanges' house for a concert during which Cecile will sing and play with harp. The girl knows that her husband will be among those present, and asks Mertert to find out his name. The socialite reaches out to her cousin and meets the young woman's fiancée, Cecile. The woman is shocked because it is revealed that she is her lover. Jurcourt pretended to see Mertert for the first time. I was offended by this situation and left the event early. Mertert soon arrives at the Baron's country mansion and meets the elderly Rosamond, who fell asleep during a game of cards. Meanwhile, Valmont tries to woo Madame de Tourville, who is carefully devoted to her husband. The guy is busy and works in another city, so Tourville is forced to wait faithfully for him while he visits the Baron and Baroness. Valmont confesses his love to the girl, but is refused. Unable to bear it, this man throws himself into the water, which frightens Tourville and his servant, who, noticing that everything is in order with Valmont, rushes to his aid. The girl leaves and he is forced to swim to the servant when he begins to drown. Meeting with Valmont, Mertert asks the man to return to Paris to seduce the young Cecile. Deciding to take revenge on her lover Jurcourt, the socialite wants the professional woman to do her job and become Cecile's #1 man. She is sure that this will offend Jurcourt as he values her innocence in his future wife. Valmont is flattered by such an offer, but refuses, because he is in love with the charming Madame de Tourville. In the evening at dinner, Mertert decided to provoke a married woman into an open conversation. She again and again hints at Valmont's sympathy for her, and checks how the girl will react to this. Baroness, Mertert and even old Rosamond admit that they would not refuse to spend the night with the handsome Valmont if they had such an opportunity. Tourville cannot do the same because she has a husband and replies that decency and loyalty are important to her. Mertert is surprised that Valmont is trying to woo such a modest person and invites him to give her away because he would never spend the night with this girl without doubting his own strength. The man makes a bet if he achieves his goal with Madame de Tourville, Mertert will spend the night with him, and if he does not go to the monastery, repent of his sins and sprinkle ashes on his head. Once everyone is asleep, Valmont goes to the Baroness' bedroom to spend the night with her. 2 days later, Mertert returns to Paris and meets Cecile's mother. The woman is angry at her daughter's behavior and says she keeps secrets in her clothes. Madame de Volanges opens it and finds letters from Dunsany, a man teaching a young woman how to play a runaway. Mertert offers to help and contacts Cecile to ensure that the girl loves her teacher. As soon as the young woman runs into the living room to bring her letters, Mertert follows her and learns that the girl hides the letters in the strings of the lyre and covers them with a handkerchief. She decides to use Cecile's innocent love to ruin her future lover's marriage, Jurcourt. The girl helps write a romantic letter to Dunsany and comforts her mother by telling her all the details. During the next class, Madame de Villegas notices how the teacher hides a harp and throws it out of the house, which greatly upsets her daughter. Continuing to implement his insidious plan, Murtert helps the couple to maintain secret correspondence and decides to arrange a meeting for them. She tells Cecile how to behave and offers to run away from home once she and her mother go to the opera. The women leave and the girl goes on a date with Dunsany. Murtert thought it was all over. Her servant Cecile helped her put on revealing clothes and leave the couple alone. The socialite assistant left the room and began spying on the couple. Young and stupid Dunsany, instead of spending the night with his beloved, teaches her to play the harp. Madame de Volanges decides to take pity on her daughter, whom she has placed under house arrest, and hurries home. Aware of the possible offer of the plan, Murtert hurries to Cecile and takes her to the opera so that her mother will not find out about meeting the music teacher Madame de Volanges, who is considering taking her daughter back to the convent before the wedding day. But Murtert comes up with a better idea and goes with Cecile to the country, to the Baron's house. Meanwhile, Valmont continues to try to find a way to change Madame de Toro. He invites her to go fishing and seduces her on a romantic date in a garden filled with food and musicians playing just for the two of them. All this affected the girl, but she is not ready to succumb to the charms of an experienced womanizer. In addition, Madame de Tourville received a letter in which an unknown person advised to stay away from Valmont because he wanted to use her like other women. The Viscount cannot justify himself and simply leaves, declaring that his feelings for her are sincere. At this time in Paris, young Dunsany is being chosen for Drucourt's regiment. He, unlike the other men, wields his sword deftly and commands respect for Monsieur Drucourt. Knowing that this man must marry his beloved Cecile, the music teacher refuses and leaves Valmont as the only man to entertain the ladies of the country house. He spends a lot of time with Cecile and plays with her by imitating fencing. Tourville watches the man curiously and asks Murtert what she thinks of him. She says that Valmont is ideal for a brother, but worse for a future husband. Noticing that the married girl loves him, Murtert invites her to leave as soon as possible, but Tourville refutes her assumptions. In the evening after the dance, Madame de Tourville invited Valmont to her room. She admits that she is in love and simply cannot leave because she wants to be with him. Realizing that this was a mistake, she begged the Count to leave the estate and leave her alone. Murtert invites Valmont to help Cecile send a love letter to Dunsany. He agrees and retires with a young girl dictating the text of the letter. At some point, the guy decides to seduce Cecile and become the first man of a charming girl. After that, the young woman hurried to Madame de Murtert and told what had happened. She is completely confused in feelings and does not know what to do. Murtert offers not to dissolve the marriage and become Drucourt's wife while making Dunsany a mistress. In the morning, Madame de Volanges arrives at the Baron's house to pick up her daughter. Valmont intervenes in the women's conversation and reprimands Cecile's mother for forcibly marrying a girl to a man 3 times her age. The conflict cannot be resolved, and those gathered at the table decide to ask Cecile's opinion. Believing this to be true, the dish girl affirms her desire to become Drucourt's wife on the condition that Dunsany becomes her lover. The mother is enraged by this confession and forces her to return immediately to Paris. Upon learning that Madame de Tourville has left for Paris, Valmont hastily follows her and ends up in the girl's house before she sees the man she fell in love with, Marie Tourville. Unable to resist her urges, she spends the night with a womanizer. In the morning, she told him that she had written and sent a letter of appreciation to her husband and that she was also ready to serve Valmont in everything. While the girl was going to the market for food, the Viscount ran away, leaving a farewell note. He thought he could love and be with one of them, but he realized he was wrong. Back at the Baron's estate, Valmont meets Murtert and tells him that he won the argument and spent the night with Madame de Tourville. She refuses to admit losing the argument, but the man insists on his own because this is a matter of honor. Murtert behaves inappropriately and makes Valmont angry. As a result, he declared war on the woman and overturned the bathhouse in which she was lying. The Viscount decides to help Cecile and Dunsany by becoming a moderator in their correspondence. The girl is ready to write letters, but on condition that they are not the same as last time. And this will not end with intimacy. On one of these days, Drucourt comes to Cecile to present a necklace and announce the upcoming wedding. The girl begins to become suspicious and Valmont changes his plan. He asks Cecile to confess everything to Dunsany and to offer him the role of a lover because Murtert advised her to do so. The angry music teacher immediately goes to Murtert, threatens him with his sword, and demands that he write a letter of apology. In the evening, the servant told Valmont that Madame de Tourville was waiting for him. He told her that the owner was not home, but the girl continued to wait. It's raining outside and Tourville is all wet, so Valmont invites her to his house, feeling sympathy and pity for the unfortunate girl with whom he spends the night. In the morning, Tourville runs away, having done the same to Valmont as he did to her when he bought flowers. the Viscount goes to the house of a married girl and sees that her house is a mess, and her husband, who has returned from a business trip, is in the living room. Afterwards, Valmont heads to Madame de Myrtle's house to apologize to her and reconcile. They are strong personalities with whom it is better not to fight, but to be friends. The woman also understands this and confesses her feelings to Valmont, but it soon becomes clear that she is just playing with him. As it turned out later, Myrtert told Danceny that the Viscount had become Cecile's first man. Moreover, she did it in order to spend the night with a man. Valmont is disappointed and punches the woman in the face for ruining the happiness of the couple in love. Trying to save the situation, the Viscount buys inconspicuous men's clothes and hurries to Madame de Volanges' house. The servant does not let him in, but Valmont showers the man with silver coins so that he does not interfere with him. He offers Cecile to change his clothes and run away. But it turns out that Myrtert arrived earlier and told everything to the girl. She is not ready to escape and become Durcourt's wife, since Danceny betrayed Cecile and his feelings for her. A minute later, Madame de Volanges also appeared in the room, asking Valmont to leave her house once and for all. Returning home, the Viscount meets Danceny seconds, reports that the gentleman has challenged him to a duel and is waiting for the meeting at night. Valmont goes to the nearest tavern and hires 3 drunks to be his seconds for the next duel. In the morning, he arrives at the meeting place drunk, and this causes great displeasure. The man is not ready to fight a drunken man and considers him below his dignity. The music teacher calls the Viscount to ask for forgiveness and promises to accept the apology. Valmont gets angry at these words, because he tried with all his might to help the lovers, and he does not need to repent of his actions. Viscount Danceny attacks and the temporary seconds flee, realizing the situation is out of control. As a result of the fight, a young music teacher, Valmont, was killed 2 days later. A funeral is being held for a noble womanizer, and all the women who spent the night with him have come to it, except for Madame de Tourville. Cecile cries more than the others and confesses to the old lady de Rosemond that she is expecting a child from Valmont. The next day, Cecile becomes Durcourt's wife at the royal court. Madame de Myrtert remains alone and looks at the others with envy that everyone has found their wives, except for her. Madame de Tourville comes with her husband to Valmont's grave to say goodbye to the man she loved. And here the movie ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see a video like this. Thanks for watching.
Baby, you give me ice and fire.